So here's a question for you. Would you benefit from ongoing support to improve your sales conversations and ultimately close more business? The Sales Maven Society offers you daily support for your urgent sales questions, an extensive library of bite-sized trainings to hone your selling skills, and monthly live coaching calls where you receive individualized coaching from me specific to your business so that you're able to remove any bottlenecks in your sales process. This is the most robust sales coaching program around for an incredible value of only $147 a month. And you can join now for your first month for only $47. You get access to absolutely everything, including the live coaching calls with me. Come check it out and see if this is the place for you to really elevate your business to the next level. You can do this by going to yoursalesmaven.com/society, hit the join now button. And then when it takes you to that page, enter this code, the number 4, the number 7, and the word trial, TRIAL. So 47 trial, all one word, and you'll be a member. I can't wait to see you in there. Now, here's the podcast.
Do sales conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Roush. We are going to talk about how to stop selling yourself short in your sales conversations today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for continuing to listen to the podcast. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Hopefully you're in for some great resources, things that you can immediately implement into your sales conversation so that you can achieve excellent results in your life and in your business. All right, so I want to talk about this idea of selling yourself short. This tends to come up a lot of times when people aren't really that comfortable in sales conversations. There's something that they try to do to overcompensate for their uncomfortableness or nervousness around sales. And they do this thing around making disclaimers about themselves. And the one that I really want to dig into today is this idea of feeling like I have to show up with so much integrity because I never want anybody to think that I'm salesy or gross. So I'll almost go out of my way with my high level of integrity to talk people out of hiring me to show them how anti-salesy I am. And unfortunately, this type of approach, even though the intention behind it is positive, nobody wants to be seen as salesy and gross and manipulative and all the negative words that people have to describe sales out there. But in actuality, what it does is it sends the message to the other person that you are not that comfortable and or credible. You don't believe in your work. Why should they? So you got to be really, really careful about this. Now, disclaimers are little like bugs that kind of show up in our language in a lot of different ways. I do want to break down the one that I mentioned, but I want to give a little bit of background around disclaimers to see if you recognize this or does this resonate in some way. Now, as I share this, please don't beat yourself up. Don't get the whip out and be like, I do that all the time. I'm terrible. This isn't about knocking yourself down. This is about recognizing, do you have a little bit of a habit that needs to be addressed? So disclaimers are this idea of really selling yourself short, but they show up in a lot of areas in our lives and in our business. It's like we get a little uncomfortable, and so we try to minimize. It's like, don't be too big for your britches. Don't be the, golden child, don't be the one who shines all the time. And so you try to minimize or play small in some areas of your life. So a really good example of this is when somebody gives you a compliment, do you diminish it because you don't want to act like, oh yeah, I'm really cool or I'm really great? So let's say somebody says something nice to you. They're like, gosh, you're so good with X, Y, and Z. And you go, oh, not really. I really struggle with it. Blah, blah. That's a disclaimer. Okay. So women, we tend to do this a lot. When somebody compliments something about us, about our physical appearance, we tend to downplay. If somebody's like, oh, I love your hair today, we tend to say things like, really? Gosh, I didn't even wash it. Gosh, yeah, thanks. But I'm kind of embarrassed about how it looks today, right? We all probably are familiar with this. Hopefully you're like, Nikki, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never done that in my life. I hope that's the case. But chances are this resonates with you in some way. Or maybe you have a friend or a family member that does this. Every time you give them a compliment, they diminish it. They play small in some way. Now, unfortunately, when you do this, you send the message to the other person that they're wrong. Someone gives you a compliment, you diminish the compliment, you diminish yourself. You're essentially saying to the other person, you're wrong. So imagine the next time somebody gives you a compliment and they go, gosh, I really love your outfit today. You look so put together. And you just say, you're wrong. My outfit isn't put together. Now, you wouldn't say that, right? You probably wouldn't. Hopefully you wouldn't. But the fact of the matter is, that is the underlying message that you're sending to the other person. So we got to get that out of your language because it's not helpful. And what should you really say when somebody gives you a compliment? Most of us learn this from our parents at a very young age. We're supposed to just say it with me now, thank you, right? It can be hard. Now, how does this show up in business? When you're uncomfortable in the selling process, we start to sell ourselves short. And the reason I'm doing this episode is because I had this conversation with a client recently, and she may be listening to this podcast and you'll know who you are. Please know that you're not the only one. You're in very good company. I have this conversation a few times every couple months with different clients that are doing this in some way. This was just such a great example to bring it into the podcast, not in any way to diminish you or what you're doing, because you're amazing. It's really just to help. This will be a teaching opportunity for all of us. And it was a great reminder to me because I hear it with other people and I sometimes don't hear it in myself. So here's what was happening. This person wanted to be so above reproach. This is my interpretation. So above reproach when it came to selling, didn't want her integrity to ever be called into question, would never sell something to somebody that they didn't need or wouldn't solve a problem, which I think most of us can relate to that, right? Like we're doing this, our business, because we want to serve in some way. And we're not just trying to get dollars out of people's wallets and not give anything in return. Like we want to make an impact in the world. And so I understand the intention behind selling ourselves short in these conversations so that the other person isn't like, you're so salesy. You're so like aggressive. This feels like a sales conversation, which, as somebody who loves curse words, I really do love curse words. I'm not a big fan of sales and selling being used as a curse word, right? Like it's not a bad word, sales, and it's not a bad thing. Sales is something that we do with people, not to them. It isn't about being manipulative. It isn't about being out of integrity. As a matter of fact, it's something we do with people. It's a collaboration. It's something that we do for the betterment, is that a word, of the other person. So of course you're going to show up with a high level of integrity. But when you feel compelled to have to comment that, hey, if I'm not the right person for you, I will not work with you. I'll just tell you straight up, we're not a good fit. If you don't feel like my service is going to serve you, you would never need to hire me. These are these disclaimers that I'm talking about. Oftentimes they don't actually need to be brought into a conversation, and they certainly don't need to be brought into a conversation multiple times. And when you're doing this multiple times, you're starting to chip away at your credibility and your authority of who you are and what you could bring. You're starting to plant seeds of doubt in the mind of the person that you're in conversation with, like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't be hiring this person. Maybe they aren't good at these things that I need. Maybe I'm going to waste my money with this person. And you don't need to plant those seeds of doubt because you know that's not true. You know you're going to show up. You're going to deliver. Now, the distinction here is in your sales conversations. This is why it is so crucial that you have your set list of questions that you ask in the discovery step of the selling staircase, that you're identifying through the questions that you're asking. Am I talking to an ideal client? Do they have a problem, or do they have a need? And do I have a solution that will solve that problem or meet that need? And if not, we never move them to step 4 in the sales conversation. We bless and release at step 3, discovery. Are you a determined and ambitious woman entrepreneur seeking to elevate your selling skills? Then I have a training for you. It's called How Any Woman Can Confidently Close Any Deal in a One-on-One Sales Call in Any Business or Industry. In this training, you'll be shown 3 techniques that you can immediately apply to your consultation calls and improve your close rate. This is a live training with me, and there's going to be an opportunity to ask questions. So come get yourself registered right now by going to yoursalesmaven.com/close. Easy, right? Okay, I'm going to see you there. So there's no reason to continuously give people an out to hiring you. You're doing it, and I mean this with love, you're doing it for your benefit. You're doing it to satisfy some part of you that is uncomfortable with selling, or some part of you that is a negative inner critic that's telling you, don't be salesy. Don't do things that are going to benefit you. Don't take advantage of somebody. Great. I understand the benefit to the critic of what they're trying to do here, of keep you safe, make sure you're standing in integrity. But how about if you just decide that you are standing in a place of integrity and you won't recommend a solution that's not a good fit for somebody? And if you can just decide that, you don't need to bring it into the conversation. So when you're in a conversation with a prospective client, you don't need to voice the like, hey, if I'm not the right fit for you, I'll just tell you straight out. If I'm not, if I don't have a solution, if you don't believe in what it is that I do, or if you don't see how my services are going to serve you, you don't need to hire me. All that stuff is just garbage. It's all disclaimer language, and you don't need it in your conversation. Now, when I was having this conversation with my client, I heard it come up once, twice, and then the third time in the conversation. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to point out what I see as a huge blind spot in a way that doesn't leave the other person feeling, I never want to leave anybody feeling pinched or shamed or like, you're doing something so wrong, right? And that wasn't the intent behind it. So I thought about it for a few minutes before I commented on it. And then I commented on it, and man, I wish all of my clients would take things as so like, here's somebody you could tell that had a very deep level of personal development skill set, because she was like, oh, I totally get it. I know exactly what you're talking about, Nikki. Done. I'll never do it again. And I was like, yes. I feel like she just let go of something that just did not serve, no longer served her. And that's why I wanted to bring this to the podcast. If you are doing this in your sales conversations, if you're selling yourself short, if you're chipping away at your credibility and your authority because there's some part of you that is slightly uncomfortable with how to have a successful sales conversation, knock it off. Learn. Let's figure out how to give you a strategy for a successful sales conversation so you don't need these disclaimers. Because remember, you're selling to adults and you have to show up in a conversation from a place of respect for the other person. We have to respect that they can make their own decisions, that they know what's right for them, that they're smart. They'll be able to determine whether or not the solution that you're putting in front of them is the right fit. Now, that in no way means put something in front of somebody that you know absolutely will not serve them. I don't mean that. What I do mean, though, is you don't need these. You don't need to sell yourself short. You don't need to give a bunch of outs. You don't need to bust your butt trying to find another resource for this person because they don't want to pay your fee structure. I actually have a client that was doing that too. It was like people couldn't afford her services. She's a very top high level of what she offers and what her clients pay. And a lot of people were like, oh, I'd like to work with you, but I just, can't really swing that in my budget. And she would go out of her way to find somebody less expensive. And I was like, why are you doing that? Knock it off. You're spending all this time and energy and you're just tipping away at your own credibility. Like there's a reason that you work with your clients at the level that you work. There's a reason that you charge what you charge. And it's not like she was willing to come off her price because she was super confident about the value that people get. Now, we can articulate that value in a different and maybe in a way that somebody's more receptive to receiving it. Like we can work on those things, but let's not talk people out of hiring us. We don't need to give people outs. They know where the door is. They know how to end the Zoom call. They know how to hang up on their phone. They know how to hit delete in their emails. You don't need to give them the outs. So if you're listening to this right now and there's some part of you that knows that you're doing this, check in with yourself and ask, why am I doing this? What is causing me to feel like I have to sell myself short, that I have to give the prospect some kind of an out in the conversation? And my guess is if you really dig into this and you maybe journal about it or you write it out for yourself or you just like walk and talk it. I actually just did this today on my walk by the river. I was walking and talking something in my head of like how to figure out what was getting in my way around a particular issue that I was having. And it was a mindset issue. And as I was walking and talking, and I realized like, oh, this is why this is happening, right? So if you walk and talk it and you figure it out that there's a chance that the thing is getting in your way is you're not really 100% comfortable on what's happening in that conversation. You're not sure what to say and do next. You're not sure what questions to ask. There's resources available for you. You just got to learn the resources. And you can do that. And as a matter of fact, I have a way for you to do that. You can come join the Sales Maven Society. I've got trainings on this for you. I'll answer your questions on this. I'll coach you through this. And if it's not me, there's great books out there. There's other resources. This is not me giving you an out, by the way, on me. I'm just saying, do something about this because you are leaving money on the table for your business by selling yourself short. And not only that, and this is where my passion really ignites, people are missing out. Prospects, clients are missing out on what's possible for them in their life and their business because they don't hire you. I am such a believer that you are here to make an impact in the world. And the bigger impact you make, the better our world will be. And the way that you make your biggest impact, there's a component to that, and it has to do with selling. You have to be able to sell to really make the impact that you want to make in the world. People have to be able to pay money to get your services, to take advantage of what it is that you offer. All right, we're going to wrap up there. I'm going to leave that for you. I'm going to invite you to come join the Sales Maven Society if you haven't done that yet. There's a link in the show notes for you to get a special code to save $100 off that first month in the society. Come join this. Get this figured out. Stop selling yourself short. You don't need to do it. It is irrelevant to the sales conversation, and it's not helping the prospect. It's hindering the relationship. All right. I wish you continued success. Thank you so much for listening. If you know that somebody in your life and business would benefit from this episode, would you be willing to share it with them? Share it on social media, share it with somebody, send it to a friend and say, hey, you might want to listen to this. There might be something in there for you. Be careful. Don't leave people feeling pinched. We're not trying to shame anyone again. But if you do want to share it with somebody, I will be so grateful. And thank you so much for listening. I wish you continued success in all that you're doing, and I will be talking with you soon.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills. Are you ready to increase your confidence in your sales conversations? I have a gift for you that is going to show you exactly how to do that. It is my Closing the Sale ebook. It's all about leveling up your confidence, giving you language to use, how to seamlessly move somebody through the sales process. And you can get it right now by going to yoursalesmaven.com/Maven. Go grab it.